Hello there, everybody. Cloud43 Chief Meteorologist Andrea Michaels here with the On Cloud43 stream. Another week where we take our time talking about the forecast. Especially beneficial now because the ALCS game is on tonight on Fox 43, and well, that could take some time. We'll see how it goes. So you get your time to ask questions if you don't want to stay up too late. Of course, we're not contained to the 2.5 minutes I would normally get in the show anyway on our newscast to tell you about the weather. We can take our time, like I said, ask questions, and talk about everything to come in the week ahead. And it's really a lot more of the same. I would say the only big thing here is going to be the coastal system that we've been tracking. And after what turned out to be quite the lull with rainfall, it is starting to pick up again. So we'll be sure to track the rain and talk about what that means for your Monday, of course, because it is going to be a wet one for many getting out the door, especially depending upon when you're getting out the door. Hi, Jason. Yeah, chopping corn before the rain. Yeah, that'll be the way to do it, I guess. A nice little lull. I bet that helped with you for sure today. And we'll hop on, or we'll give some more people a little bit of time to hop on here, but we'll start with a look at the 7-day forecast, as we always do, of course. We just give it to you straight and right away here. We don't hold back, of course, if you're new to the stream anyway, and you haven't been joining in the last several Sundays now. I think I started this near the end of July. But here is a look. It is going to be a cool and a damp one to start the new week. We'll have periods of showers on and off. It's going to be breezy too. The breeze hangs around through Tuesday. We go from clouds to sunshine though, and the clouds could be a little stubborn. I'll talk about some of the nuances with that, of course, once we get to that. But for the most part here, it does look like we're at least going to be drier for Tuesday, and then much more optimistic for the second half of the week. But our next chance for showers, we are going to have to wait until next weekend, but it is going to be a split by the looks of it. Saturday is going to be a gorgeous day, and also a day that really starts to warm up for sure. And the potential to possibly be warmer. Again, there are some uncertainties in parts of the forecast, and you know, one thing that I like about this stream, as opposed to the 2.5 minutes that I'm confined to, sometimes 3 minutes in the newscast, you know, any given day, is that I can take the time to explain this to you and the process and where my thoughts are, things that I'm keeping an eye on for potential changes and whatnot. Hey, Jonathan. Oh, you got the grass cut during that lull. You know, I couldn't help but notice some of the grass did look a little greener today, which I guess, you know, better late than never for sure here. Good evening, Jeff. Thank you for joining. Jason, oh, you don't normally work Sundays, but it adds more pay to the check at the end of the week. I mean, that's good. If you're not salaried, man, definitely hustle whenever you can. I certainly would, but I'm a salaried employee. Lucky me. So I could work 10 extra hours a week or something like that, which sometimes, depending on the weather, it does call for it. And I make the same salary. But yeah, that's great. Glad you were able to take advantage regardless. Hey there, Keith. Yeah, things are going good this evening, for sure. It's been, aside from, you know, the coastal storm, it's been a quiet one for weather, fortunately. And this one, it was a little bit of a pain to pinpoint through the end of the week and pretty much all of this weekend exactly how this is going to unfold. But fortunately, I'm feeling pretty confident in the Monday forecast at this point. Of course, I was off Thursday, so I really didn't have the best grasp on it. It was really, you know, relying on, of course, Grant and Jake and Tony too. Forget about our morning newscast. You would think I wouldn't because I used to do it, but you know, the rest of the team's done an excellent job for sure. But yes, this is pretty much going to be a very straightforward next 24, 36 hours or so. So we'll start with a look at our current satellite and radar. And you can see, look at those. They're like wispy little fingers anyway, or streaky looking bits of showers that are starting to come in from the east again. You know, when I was coming back from dinner break, I started to see some light drops on my windshield. But, you know, it's the way it is, right? We need the rain for sure, so no complaints coming out of me. I have to say, I was actually surprised by the breaks of sunshine that we did see. I mean, it wasn't, for most of us anyway, it wasn't anything too crazy. I mean, it was enough to really warm us, many of us, into the mid and into the upper 60s. I will say I probably should have given that a quicker look than what I did before I went and I did my little coffee cast this morning. So I apologize that yes, that did fly under my line of vision as far as that goes, but I've had a really busy weekend, so trying to play catch up and everything really didn't get to until this afternoon. But yes, here's a look at what's happening though. Of course, as expected with this system, the bulk of the rain definitely staying out to our east here, the heaviest anyway, and of course the strongest of the wind. And yeah, they're looking at some pretty bad, coastal flooding and whatnot. It just not good, for sure, especially because, they had previous hurricanes, even though they weren't, any threat to the mid-Atlantic coast. That over time erodes and puts you in a little bit more of a vulnerable position for the coastal flooding, of course, and further erosion. So that was one of the big concerns, and it really does look like that's playing out from some of the scenes that I've seen anyway. But yeah, that's something that I think we've been keeping a close eye on regardless, just for the folks who might have interests out there and whatnot. Here, of course, nothing major was ever the concern. It was just ultimately a matter of how high were our winds going to be, of course, and then how much rain would we ultimately end up getting out of this. And we'll fine-tune those details too. Ooh, more. Many of you are hopping in this Sunday. I'm glad to see that. Keith, you said it rained before it got bright this morning in Pittsburgh, calling for a nice Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, it'll probably, I think tomorrow, especially for Pennsylvania, it's going to be like a tale of two cities. It's going to be, eastern half of the state, cloudy, especially south and east. So think, roughly the Lehigh Valley, Philadelphia area, damp and cloudy, windy too. And then west. Yeah, west is definitely a much more optimistic forecast for sure. Jason, do you think we could see a tornado watch for tonight? Oh, no, I don't think so at all. This is definitely not one of those situations, fortunately, where that's going to be a concern. There's actually no severe weather threat, period, from this. And even that, some of the good news here is, you get that east flow, east winds, cool air. You just have no way of getting stability or the right kind of wind shear in the atmosphere that we look for, both wind speed and wind direction from bottom to top, to be able to allow that to happen. You'd have to have it be a tropical system, and way more than not, it's much more favorable to be on the eastern side of the tropical system for something like that to happen. So when something's tracking to our west or to our east rather, and therefore we're on the western side, very difficult to get that happen, especially when you've got an east component, an east flow from a coastal storm. Very hard to overcome there. So at least I can say, I can say that for sure, which is always good news, and especially good news for folks closer to the coast. I can at least say that for especially along the coastal areas of Jersey and, Delmarva beaches and whatnot. At least I can say that. Let's see. And yes, yep. And good evening, John. Thanks for joining in. So this is a look at what's happening right now. The clouds, yeah, they've obviously thickened right back up again after the breaks that we ended up getting this afternoon. Let's just get a wider view, though, and I'll show you. This was a very complicated, okay. Let me back that thought up here. This didn't quite behave like a typical coastal nor'easter. It was figuring out how an area of low pressure in the upper level pattern would drop down and phase with this, and now we have a double-barreled area of low pressure. That just means two low pressures close together, forming around each other. Ultimately, one's going to take over, and that's already in the process of happening. This low is going to just die, and then this low will strengthen and take over. And I think that helped contribute to the lull more than anything, and the reason why now this one's strengthening, the showers are picking back up and whatnot. And then as this pulls away, of course, it is going to slow down a little. This high pressure to the north, it's pretty strong, so it's kind of compressing in and keeping everything kind of sluggish this weekend, particularly, of course, today and tomorrow. And that's what's going to allow it to ultimately scoot out of here eventually once it gets its act together. Jacob, you say, how bad in York, PA? How bad what specifically? Rainfall, I mean, I wish I could say we were getting more wind. I mean, nothing to write home about, not enough for a wind advisory for sure. I mean, I don't think we have to worry about flooding at all here. I think it's just going to be, your typical cool, rainy, windy October day. We get these already. This is a coastal storm, sure, but it's not, like powerful wind, rain, hammer you to death sort of scenario. That was never what this was expected to be, although at times in early middle of last week there were some hints that it could have turned out like that, but it became very clear by the end of the week and especially into the weekend that maybe along some of the coastal areas it would play like that, but definitely not far enough inland for us to be a bother. I mean, oh my God, thank goodness. Yeah. If it was giving us snow, oh my goodness, I am happy this isn't snow, and this is very selfishly so, because this would have been a pain in the you-know-what to forecast. Oh my goodness. And I mean, people, there's something about snow. I mean, you're off by a half of an inch, or, the storm shifts 20 miles and that totally messes up some of the totals in some spots. And oh my goodness, people will come after you like pitchforks. And it's like, sometimes that's just the way it is. I mean, and then you've got your people, like some people who manage to get it right, or, I don't want to say get lucky, but manage to get it right. They call out the other people and then they're wrong the next time. And then they go hiding like, it's just, oh my God, I can't stand the drama. I love the forecasting of it. It challenges me for sure, but this would have been one that I was just like, gosh, it's not going to be worth the headache for sure. Let's see. Jason, you say the wife is at her house on standby. She's a search and rescue operation agent. Oh, for what specifically? Is it just anything, Jason? I'm just curious what entity she works for, if it's anything specific. If you don't mind divulging that information, I understand this is on a live stream, so of course, if it's something you want to tell us. But anyways, yeah, this one, a little bit of a pain, but I think the details for the next 24 to 36 hours have at least started to come together as good as they could. Some models are a little wetter than others, but we'll get into it. This is what I think we can expect from this system. So we'll start with one of our high resolution futurecast models. Of course, it's got those clouds coming back here. I've got a couple pause points in, and you can see some of those waves of showers. And yes, we still have that getting out the door in the morning on Monday. It's possible some of this is a little underdone. I just want to say we could have a little bit more green than what's showing up here. When this model refreshed, I think it was around 4 or 5 o'clock or so. I wasn't the biggest fan of what it did, but I think it still has the general idea here. I mean, most of your showers are more than likely going to be east. Will there be slower spots? Yes. From time to time. Is it going to be a total wash from start to finish? No, it's not one of those. Will it be breezy? Yes. Will it be cool? Of course, yes, especially along the eastern 2/3 of our area specifically. That's one thing for sure. And then you'll notice this is the one consistent thing that I think we can rely on here, especially with the way the storm is developing before it ultimately, can't see my arms, ultimately hooks out to sea. Still can't see it. I tried, sorry. Hooks out to sea. 3rd time's the charm, as they say here. So I think mostly by about mid-morning until roughly sunset, maybe a little before, is when we see the showers start to taper. It'll be periods of showers, though, like I said. Make sure the kids have the umbrella, or I'm sorry, tomorrow's Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, whatever you want to call it. Don't yell at me if you say one or the other. I just say both. Anyway, but I mean, if you'll be out and about, I guess. Forgot about that. My kid's off. I should know better. But, oh, land, water, anything. Okay, and she works for both the local and the federal government, Jason. That's really nice that she does that. Anthony, thanks for joining, Anthony. Yeah, thankfully not ready to plow the snow just yet. Yeah, well, you might have a little bit more fun plowing this year than in previous years. At least those are my early indications. I haven't done the winter weather outlook just yet. Actually, oh, I'm about to digress here for sure. Can I digress? Permission to digress, guys. La Nina watch last week, so we're already starting to see La Nina conditions in the Pacific. So, yep, it's here. That's going to be a big one to keep an eye on, at least through a good portion of the winter before we go neutral, which could be more the tail end of the season. So I would say by February. I'm not so sure if we're going to see that happen by mid-January. I think, yeah, I think February, maybe mid-February at the latest here. So it'll be very interesting to see all of the influences, because some things are a little different than last year too. Some things that I've been keeping an eye on. Ah, yeah, Jonathan, of course, he wants me to digress on this one. He's the big snow lover here. So, yes. John, you say, will this storm help with the drought conditions? I wish it would help more. That's the short answer to it. Most spots will get about a quarter to a half of an inch of rainfall out of this, and that's far from what we need right now. So unfortunately, you know, I remember when I posted on this, I think it was Friday evening, it really looked like we could at least stand to get a solid half of an inch to an inch for most of us, maybe just farthest west in like Mifflin, Juniata, Franklin counties. Maybe they wouldn't quite hit that, but unfortunately, just with the way this system ended up evolving, that ended up being cut by half, which, ugh. Yes, there it is. Anthony, it's so fun throwing that stuff together in a panic mode. Oh man. Yeah, no, we don't like to panic here. We like to be prepared, but we don't like to panic. But yes. Hi Adam, thank you for joining the live stream. So I do want to say though, once the showers kind of start, at least the bulk of any widespread scattered showers start to taper around sunset, I think we will be left with some drizzly spots through the night and some fog. One of the forecast questions that I think we'll have to iron through in the next 24 hours or so is just how stubborn the low-level clouds are going to end up being Tuesday morning, because that will impact how quickly we clear, or if the low-level clouds, the sun, just has a difficult time eroding it, which this time of year, because you know, you'll recall, now that we're past, you know, the peak of summer, we're past the fall equinox, your sun angle isn't as high. So your sun, you know, doesn't have as much time, first of all, through the day, and it's not at a high enough angle anymore to help cut into and warm enough to erode the low-level clouds. So that is going to be a factor in this. So everything's always so nuanced here in the world of meteorology. I mean, with any science it is, but especially this one. I can definitely attest to that. So you'll see how stubborn the clouds are by the time we finally dry out Tuesday morning. That's 6:30 in the morning. And I say dry out loosely because I can't, you know, completely rule out that we have some lingering fog, and therefore it could be a little misty. Maybe there are some pockets of drizzle for kids as they're heading back to the bus stop in the morning, assuming that most of them are off for the holiday tomorrow. Actually, my little one, funny enough, she wasn't last year. I actually got Columbus Day confused last year because she was off the Monday before. And I just assumed that that was the right Monday. And then I remember, oh my gosh, I made an idiot of myself. And I talked about the next day being like Columbus Day and kids being off and stuff. And then just to find out, nope, that was just a random in-service day. Usually, you know, sometimes those are planned around those holidays to take advantage. Oh, yeah. But anyways, yeah, at least my kid is. I don't know if anybody else is, any other school districts. I mean, if you know of kids that still have school tomorrow for whatever reason, let me know. But I'm going off the assumption that most are probably going to be off tomorrow, just from, you know, a traditional standpoint. So that might be something to keep an eye on Tuesday. Regardless, tomato, you know, regardless of what's going on there. And then Tuesday, this model refreshed and it ended up being much more stubborn on clearing out these clouds. I'm not entirely sold on that just yet, because if the system's pulling away and you've got high pressure building in, of course, I think that's going to help accelerate the process. It's going to ultimately depend upon how quickly it can nudge in. There's a separate area of high pressure we're watching out to the west. So a little nuance to it, and I am seeing indication that low-level clouds could be a little trapped or a little stuck initially here. So, yeah, that's for sure. Let's see. I think I have some comments to catch up on. Jason, yeah, I think we could see a few spotty power outages. I don't think that's going to be too bad, though. Our peak wind gusts will be between 25 to 35 miles an hour, and I think you have to be in the easternmost two-thirds of our area for that to really be the highest concern. 35 miles an hour, usually, I think it's just if there are any dead trees or any dead branches or something like that on the trees. That's what I would think more than anything, as far as the concern for that, because I think I did notice some of the winds managed to at least knock down a few branches. Oh, those things that grow in the trees. I don't know what they're actually called, but as kids we called them monkey balls. Like, they're like the green things. Sometimes they turn brown. I saw a lot of those just fall, and I wonder if that was because the wind rattled them off and whatnot. And then Keith, you got Columbus Day back, so it is a part of being. So they are off again on Columbus Day, maybe? I don't know. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Anyway, Jason, you say, oh, your son's school is doing the same thing, off tomorrow. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I'm going under the assumption there with, I'm going under the assumption there that, most kids are probably just off tomorrow anyway. Here's another Futurecast model. This is our HRRR. I just wanted to show this one too. I think this one's probably a little better initialized here. You can see the spotty showers around, of course. Placement's maybe a little off, but I think it's got the general idea here. Oh, Keith, how about the fall foliage? Is your area peaking yet? Not quite yet. We're starting to see some more color this week, but we're not at our peak just yet over here in South Central Pennsylvania. But we're getting there. Definitely will be there in about another week and a half. Or, yeah, maybe I'm being a little too gracious. Another week or two, though, for sure. I think we are only anticipated to be a few days earlier than the average at best, thanks to some of the chillier snaps that we got. And of course, days like this certainly helping accelerate the process too. So I do want to point out the spotty showers through the night here, and then notice by about mid-morning, here we are becoming much more widespread again. Let's see, where's my pointer? Trusted pointer. There you are. Here it is. Boom. Anyways, so you'll notice it does become a little more widespread here, and then of course continuing on off through the afternoon, and then here we are at 6:30, and it does start to finally ease up east, and then you'll notice the general drying trend here. But of course these flecks of green, sure, there could still be a stray spritz, a stray shower somewhere, but through the rest of the night, this model does break the clouds earlier, though. I do want to point that out, particularly west. So, I mean, we could have spots out west that make it to around 70, maybe low 70s in Mifflin, Franklin, Juniata, Perry, Cumberland counties, but maybe some of your far eastern spots in, say, Lancaster County, you could very well end up stuck in, say, the mid-60s, depending upon how long that clearing manages to take. I personally think this model right now, based on everything I have seen and looked at this afternoon with the newest model data, right now I think this one is got the right idea here. So I'm curious to see if the other one I showed you earlier, it always has a refresh during the 10 o'clock hour. So I usually have it by about 10:30, always, because I know during my second weather hit in the 10 o'clock, I always see the refresh, and I always have to try to remember to look beforehand sometimes because I'm always doing 20 million things at once behind the scenes. Walnuts? I don't know. They're really big, though. Walnuts, really? Oh my gosh, that would be so interesting. I'll have to take a picture, find some in my backyard, take a picture and post it and just say, hey, identify these for me. Or I could choose not to embarrass myself and just ask like ChatGPT or something. Oh man. Anyways. Oh, it is Jason? Okay, Jason's okay. Then I didn't realize that. Oh, my goodness. I've never, in all honesty, I've never truly cared to actually look it up and see. It's just one of those things that, you're told as a child from a friend, and yeah, that's kind of that. You take it for granted. Need cooler temps. Yeah, I mean, we've got some cooler temps coming, Keith, so that's definitely the good thing. Walnuts, Indy the outer. Okay. All right. Can confirm it's walnuts. Well, thank you guys for helping me learn that. I probably should have learned this well earlier in my life. But now I know. I know other things, though, I swear. Anyways, we'll talk rainfall amounts now in the area. So this is the one model that I showed you. This is the meager one here. It's got about 1/4 of an inch of additional rainfall, and I think this could be like I said, I think this could be underestimated just a little bit, but I did at least want to show that. That is through Tuesday morning, of course, so that does account for a little bit of drizzle. And then this is the HRRR model, and I think this one's probably a little more realistic with 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch for most. Sure, there could be places that fall short of that. There always are. This isn't going to be, everything is spotty with the showers, so this is going to be one of those systems that don't put down a continuous amount of rain totals throughout the area. It's much easier when it's one swath of rain moving over the area to, have a range. This isn't, unfortunately, one of those scenarios, which is, oh, okay, you did at least call them, okay, monkey, okay, so at least the monkey balls thing, okay. at least I had determined I don't know what the word for it is, but I want to say old wives' tale, but I'm sure that's not, but I at least had, like, the cutesy name for it down. Thank you, Keith, for that. And Jason, you're a logger, so you should know. Yeah, I would say so. Do they look like little brains? I don't remember if I've ever looked in one. I've seen them smashed. I would say maybe they do look like brains. Now I'm really gonna go and try to open one up and see. The little outdoor explorer in me is going to come out after this. Once we dry out a little, of course. You almost got smacked by one at the local park. I swear the other day I heard something really loud hit my car, and I was like, oh my gosh, did a bird, aligner trouble. Did a bird fly into my car or something? And now that you're saying that, I'll bet that is what it is. Oh my gosh, I'll bet that's what it was, because I was going through an area that usually does have a lot of trees. Usually, it always does have a lot of trees, so that's not outside of the realm of possibilities here. On the outside, wrinkly and green. From what wrinkly and green. I thought they're definitely green, but I thought they were smooth. Maybe because some of the ones I saw today, because I'm just looking as I'm driving, maybe they fell a little earlier because of the wind. I'm not sure. They were definitely green and large, and those are the things that would be called monkey balls, at least that I'm familiar of growing up. I don't know, because they hang and fall from trees, I guess. Monkeys in trees. Guess I can only assume that's where the name comes from. And they fall from your hickory tree too. Now I'm gonna really examine these. So yes, unfortunately, getting back on topic here, guys. Sorry. We like to have a little fun too. You gotta have fun here. Definitely. Alrighty. So, I mean, not the biggest amount of rain out of this. We could certainly use it. The deficit, at least with some of the rain we've gotten in the last week or so, it's helped slow down the growing deficit. And this is why, unfortunately, it's, it was John, I think it was, who asked if this would help, with the drought. And it's just, I would really, in a perfect world, and as we know, it's never a perfect world, but in a perfect world, I would really just like a solid 2 to 3 weeks where every maybe 3 to 4 days we get a system of some sort that puts down at least 1/2 of an inch of rainfall. And I think that would be just that for 3 weeks would be extremely beneficial. But Right now, all indications through the rest of October is that this is going to continue to be more spaced out than anything. Although, I don't think we're going to be without rain. I think there will be a couple of opportunities for rainfall. Not this week, but I'm talking like the following week. So stand by. Sunday, Monday will be one of those days. We'll get to that momentarily, though. But let's give the latest drought monitor update. Updated, of course, October 9th, so this past Thursday. Just as a reminder for folks who might not be aware, this does get updated every Thursday, but the measurements are taken Tuesday. And then, of course, it's analyzed, the maps are generated, and then it gets out to everybody by about roughly 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning every Thursday. So this is where we're at right now. Still some pretty rough drought conditions here, especially along the northern tier of the state, but this southwestern portion. Drought conditions aren't very good heading into the Ohio Valley, and some of that is starting to expand towards your area, Keith. A big warm-up coming near the end of the month. I'll have to get back to you on that, Keith. I really haven't looked too far out, to be honest, in the last several days now. I do still see some swings of warmth trying to get in here. There's one that's going to try heading into the weekend. It's just a question of how prolonged it's going to be. I can give just a quick little look here, though. Let me see. European. Let me give a little look-see here. I mean, I would definitely say there is some favorability, at least through. Actually, I think we talked about this last Sunday. We got down this rabbit hole to some degree. Because I remember we were talking about the small possibility of this coastal system, how the Euro had hinted at it, and it was the first time that we saw the hints at it, but we weren't putting it in just yet. We were waiting for more consistency to see ultimately where it would go, and it definitely took a few more days after that for the models to start figuring it out and hinting at it. Yeah, I would say pretty much through the rest of the month we do get more. It does seem like we are seeing, hold on, let me refresh this model too and look out in imagination land, as I like to call it. Anybody remember that South Park episode? Anybody used to watch that? It was wild here. Let's see. Yeah, I do see the opportunity, though, for some bouts of rainfall, and that's at least the good thing, too. I'm curious to see what the CPC is saying now for their climate outlook. So I'm going to pull that up really quickly, and we'll give a look, because I always like to see, when I look at it, if they think the same thing. I think milder swings right now, but not the worst. It looks wishy-washy on the opportunity for rainfall. That's my first indication. And that was kind of how it looked last week. For the following 2 weeks, it looked like rain would be hard to come by through, what did I say? At least I want to say like the 20th of October. Somebody wants to remember for me what I said last Sunday, if you were here last Sunday. Okay, so in the CPC's 8 to 14 day outlook, which would range between October 20th to the 26th, so that is getting close to the end of the month, we're leaning, and this does include Western Pennsylvania too, we are leaning a little above average. Some above average temperatures are favored more than not. And then near normal or near equal chances for rainfall. So I said that looked wishy-washy. I'm guessing, yeah, my first glance, my first reaction to that. About all right there. Let's see, I'm just curious about week 3 to 4. Weeks 3 to 4, this would be October 25th through November 7th. Oh, this is interesting. This is, ooh. You know, my first indication, my first thoughts were, might need to watch the coast for another 1 or 2 of these to try to swing up by the end of the month, whether or not it ends up being like this or just nothing burger, maybe a little bit decent rain, obviously remains to be seen. But Yeah, no indications of that. It looks like equal chances rain, and then we're still kind of teetering the slightly above normal. It doesn't look like excessive warmth, though. Of course, this is just, one Outlook's interpretation of the data. Let's see. And then the 1 month, which would be for October 2025, overall, it did call for their October 2025 prediction. Overall called for strong signals of below normal rainfall, especially for the western 2/3 of Pennsylvania, and that kind of cuts into and divides our area here in south central Pennsylvania. It does include western Pennsylvania, and then above normal. But the farther north you live in the state is the more above normal you would likely be. So that's interesting. I mean, so far, we've gotten our cooler bouts and our chillier bouts, but I think we are going to start seeing some warmth try to slip back in, of course. And you have to remember, too, the month already started pretty warm. It's just a question of how does, the second half of the month look now. Or at least, we're almost halfway through. We've got, a few more days until the 15th? Getting there anyway. So, not much, but still a pain for trick-or-treating with your son. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better than, I don't know. Sometimes the warm Octobers, they're not that bad. If it's 80 degrees, though, and you have, I remember it was, years back. I think we have to go a few falls back now at this point, but I remember there was one that was so warm. It was just, it was kind of icky. But at the same time, I know Ava was much younger, and she was, in a cutesy suit, or a cutesy, it had a dress to it, so at least it was a dressy, I didn't have to worry about her freezing and, having to cover up the costume. I don't know. There's positives and there's negatives, I guess. Do we remember the snow we had on Halloween? It was in the 90s. That was a mess. You know what? We totally talked about this last Sunday. This, I remember, we did talk about it. Somebody Googled it too. And it was a Halloween that had some good snow. Wasn't there one after that, though? It wasn't as bad as that one, but, oh, I want to say it was a good, maybe few inches. Oh shoot, I don't want to, because I remember we also talked about the November surprise snow in 28. I don't want to call it surprise snow. It was a surprise for me because I was on maternity leave and I had no idea because, I was, 2-3 weeks into being a new mom, so everything was just chaotic and a blur. But yeah, it was you. Okay, no, don't be sorry to bring it up. I mean, obviously you're a snow lover and that's okay. I was just like, wait a minute, this is starting to ring a bell. Okay. You need to cut some, oh, Jason, you have to cut some extremely dangerous trees that are very hollow tomorrow. Well, be careful, and it's going to be a little wet, too, and I'm sure when it's slippery and stuff, I'd imagine, you gotta be extra careful just in case and whatnot. Sorry, it's gonna be wet or whatever for you, though. I'm sure it's not. I mean, I can't imagine that it's fun to be outdoors when it's raining. But, oh no, you hate snow? Okay. Yeah, right. Well, either way. All right, Keith, you hate snow, one way or another. All right, well, I will hope that your meteorologists over there predict less snow for you, although I'm pretty sure with a La Nina. Weak La Ninas, they're interesting. I do want to include this, though. October, I guess it was, October 6th. That would have been what? Monday, or was it Tuesday? It was Monday. Okay. I had to just look at my calendar. It was Monday of last week. For those who don't know, there was, the Pennsylvania DEP called for a drought watch for dry conditions in 25 counties. None of them in south central Pennsylvania, but some counties out to our west, of course, surrounding the Pittsburgh area, up towards Erie, northern tier of the state, of course, parts of the Alleghenies and Laurel Highlands, blah, blah, and then Schuylkill County. Very randomly, Schuylkill County in there. But, yes, so hopefully we can start to get rain, that would definitely help. La Nina, depending on the other things you have going on with it, can be a little bit of a mixed bag because a traditional La Nina pattern does favor a drier Ohio Valley. So depending on the storm track, some of that can seep into parts of PA. I'll have to make sure I include, oh man, I'll have to make some posts about this at some point this week. I'll have to make a note because this would be a good thing to address, is if the La Nina will help or exacerbate the drought conditions. Oh man, I wish I had thought for a hot second to throw just the usual graphic the NWS has in there. But anyways, but yes, so this is the, we do have a drought watch, an official one across much of the state. You don't have to do anything or take any precautions, but for folks who do like to help, you know, just basic things you can do to limit your water usage while, you know, conditions are as they are until they, it's not until that you get to a drought emergency that they are actually mandatory restrictions. Even when there are drought warnings, it's still, you know, recommended, encouraged, but, you know, they don't, I guess, I don't know what they do about it, how they actually enforce it or whatever, if they do, but it's not until there's the drought emergency. And I mean, even at the worst point of the drought conditions in the last year, it never got to that point. So we'll keep you posted one way or another about that. Let's see. You work rain and shine. Loggers love the winter, though. Is that, I don't know. Is there a reason for that? May I ask? It can't be the cold. I wouldn't like the cold. Firewood? Just trying to make a joke, sorry. I know, sometimes I'm not funny. A lot of times I'm not funny. Let's talk tropical weather, though, because, I mean, we still have yet to have a major hurricane, or just a hurricane, I believe, in general, make landfall along the U.S. this year, which gives the impression of it being a seemingly quiet one. And, I mean, over the weekend, we got a quick little subtropical storm, Karen. It is now gone. It came just as quickly as it left. Haircut and all. I think that one was just a little bit funnier. Maybe just a little bit funnier. And then the next one will be our hell name. What's the next name? Lorenzo would be the next one. And quite possibly this one. This one has a, I believe it's a 60% chance of developing in the next 2 days, and then a 70% chance of development in the next 7 days. So this has the potential to become Lorenzo, but fortunately Lorenzo is just going to drift this way and stay in the open waters of the Atlantic in the middle of nowhere, cut Bermuda a break, because Bermuda the last couple times around, they didn't have so much of a good time with, what was it, Imelda, right? Imelda, yes. With Imelda, they didn't have a good time. They survived. Hopefully they'll be back to thriving. And that be that. So, bringing it all together, putting a nice little pretty bow on it, everybody. Here's a look at the rest of the Weather Impact 7-day forecast again. I think we do, a couple things I do want to point out here. Wednesday, next cold front's crossing through, goes through dry. Boo to that. Would have been nice if we could have gotten a little more rain out of it, but it does kick up the breezes, does bring our next shot of cooler air. Not crazy cooler, like seasonally cool, but our next round of 30s in the morning. We could get some spots Thursday if the winds ease enough, but I think the breeze will kind of, right now, all indications are the breeze relaxes through the day, so I'd be hesitant to go much cooler than like a 40 to 45 degree range right now for Thursday morning, but of course, as we get closer, that could change. Friday, though, looks like the next winds are calm, partly cloudy skies, mostly clear skies. That's like our next best chance for readings in the 30s, so next round of frost freeze concerns looking like that. And then we rebound. Saturday is looking nice. Felt like it might have been a little conservative putting 74. If I was feeling as brazen as I sometimes do, might have gone 76 if I was feeling a little cuter. Sunday, oh, let's talk about Sunday. Sunday, I had ranges in temperatures from like high 60s to the Euro, which had low 80s on Sunday. Maybe a few spotty showers, but The Canadian and the GFS have our next chance for showers on Sunday, and the AI model also does. The AI model also has some showers in, I think it's later Wednesday and into Thursday morning, and then Saturday too, and I quite wasn't on board. I was kind of wondering why that was. But anyways, Sunday looks like our next best chance, if not Monday for sure. But it's possible we could get some Sunday and Monday as far as rain goes. So that would definitely be nice. Yes, Keith. That might be, maybe that's part of the warm up that your local meteorologist was talking about. But I know you said the end of the month. So, I mean, this is like the second half of the month by that point. So I'm not sure in his mind if it was like the final week that he was kind of referring to. But I mean, I do see some warm surges still trying to come in, some well above average warm surges. And this month, it's definitely, let me think of the way to word this. I know this is going to sound a little confusing, but the warm has been more above average than the cold has been below average as far as our high temps go. I hope that made sense. Like, for example, we've been above average by like 10 degrees more days than not. Whereas if we've been below average, it's been by less, like maybe 3 to 5 degrees. It hasn't been as much. You haven't heard any details? Gotcha. Well, we'll try to keep you posted. I mean, and see how it goes over the next couple of weeks. You'll have to let me know too if he teases anything else about it, mentions anything else about it, because I'm always curious about that climate stuff. And I've been working and trying to learn a little bit more during the winter time more than anything, but I do eventually want to do season to season as opposed to just the winter time. But winter's when it's the most fun, so that's really when I pay attention to the, long-term climatological forecasts and whatnot. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get it. I get it, Keith. And I can't speak to their particular situation and what that might be. There are some things that aren't as straightforward. Some patterns aren't as easy as other patterns. Some months are harder than other months. Some storms are harder than other storms. And yes, that's possible. When you say overpredict, yeah, that can be a possibility too. And that's why, some people, they're really good at putting themselves out there and, a lot of times being right. But I'm a big proponent of, being first isn't better than being right. That's just, especially in today's social media world, it just seems like there's this rush to be first. And in the rush to be first, we kind of, it's like, oh, you put out a storm 10 days out, and I mean, let's be real here, 10-20% of the time it comes to fruition. But it's just that sort of thing that it makes me think. Exactly. And yeah, they catch hell. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. I'm bold when I feel I should be bold. I am not bold for the sake of likes and clicks. If I'm saying something about it, I'm feeling strongly about it. I'm not just like, oh, okay, this will be fun. And I just feel like some people, that's what they do. And then if they happen to be right, they'll be like, well, I was the first to say this. This is better than your local weatherman, blah, blah. And it's just like, bro, let me see your rate. Because, that's just kind of how I feel about it sometimes in the world of social media. And it's a little frustrating. But, you seem more professional than our weather people. Oh, well, I appreciate it. I mean, I try to be. It's all about balance. I try, at least, I try to be myself, but I also want to, make sure that there's a delicate balance, I feel. And you know, I feel like it's like, okay, I'm not that meteorologist that's going to go do random. I mean, I did do that once because I was excited for my vacation, but like, I'm not going to do like a dance every other day or something like that because remember that when that was a trend, oh my goodness, like years ago, and it was just people doing random dances to songs. I was just like, eh. I was just like, first of all, I have 2 left feet, but even if I could dance, that's just not me. I like to be a source of information and fun. I do post fun things, of course, too. Like when we go out to dinner, we, do some fun things. And I like to, but I feel like there's just things that are just overly silly and provide like no value as opposed, I don't know. But that's my opinion, obviously. I'm not knocking people who obviously think otherwise, but that's me. Yours thinks she's a good singer? I don't know who you're talking about, but hey, I don't know. And see, that's the thing. I can't sing at all. You don't want to hear me sing, I'll tell you that much. I know I can't. I will tell you, though, I have some amazing metal concerts in my car driving to and from work. I'm a great solo car concert artist. Oh, Jason, you're heading to New York. Oh, wow. Well, best of luck and be safe. Please, for sure. Anyway. Yeah, let's not name names. I don't like to be like that either. I don't like to say bad things about people. I don't know. The good old basic, mommy taught you if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. I try to live by those words, and those are the words I try to teach my daughter as well. I mean, we can joke and we can have fun, but, Peace out, Jonathan! Woo! Oh, it's the rock symbol. Never mind. I thought you were saying pieces and goodbye. All right, it's that time where I'm embarrassing myself, so maybe I'm just embarrassing myself now at this point. But yeah, any questions actually about the 7-day or the forecast? Anything that might just be on anybody's minds? I'll try my best before we wrap it up here. And that's kind of, what I've got for you this week. I'm going to write down, though. I'm going to try to post some La Nina stuff this week. They declared it, I think it was while I was off, and I was so busy. And for how busy I was, I sure felt like I've got nothing accomplished for my 3 days off. But, I mean, I guess that's the way it is sometimes. Oh, wow. That's great, Jason. Well, again, safe travels. See you next Sunday. Not seeing any more questions pop up, but I'll just end it here then and say, have a good night, everybody. A good week ahead. Thank you again for joining. It was really nice talking and chatting. I like here, too. I do want to put this out here. I like that I'm starting to see some regulars doing this stream and chatting and chiming in, and it's making this really fun. So keep it coming, guys. And again, if you have any questions, you can always try to reach out and whatnot. Last week was a busy week, so I wasn't the best at keeping up with commenting on posts and whatnot. It's hard on any given day, truly. This week might be another one of those weeks, just as a heads up. So, okay, good to know, Keith. And yeah, you all take care. Bye, Jonathan. See you all next week. Bye-bye.